guess I'm going to be told to take my hat off in a minute.
I know, that's okay. We'll stand up if you
Yeah, there'll be a tap on the brim, right?
It's cool. How did you all know Bee?
Neighbors. We're the neighbors.
Okay, who are you guys? Because Bee was my godmother. Emily was my mom. And Emily and Bee knew each other for a whole lot. So I know all about you guys, but I've never met you.
I'm going to move.
Well, or wrench your neck.
That's Martin.
Nice. You do so much for Bee. Thank you so much.
It's just a rumor.
I know, Bee was not a liar.
And we're,
Really, thank you.
we're Carver and Alex.
And you guys live in that, is that
Oh.
cool little place still
Hi,
there?
I'm Steve
Yeah.
Barnett.
I mean,
I'm
the
Bee's
last
son.
time we were down, they were building up.
Oh, yeah. They finished that
We'll
monster.
catch it later. Nice to meet you.
Rowena, would you and... Here we go. I'm so sorry. I should have had programs on the chairs. Thank you very much for coming. It's a beautiful day. Or as my mother would say, this is the day the Lord hath made. Rejoice in it and be glad.
Yes.
There we go. We're putting the programs out here.
Oh, the game.
When we were kids, my brother and my sister and I, my mom would bring us to Will Rogers. She was a huge fan of Will Rogers. And she would take us to the tour of the house and talk about how he was a great commentary on the politics of the day and how he went flying off in Alaska with Wiley Post and didn't come back from plane crash. So this was a really special place that she loved. And I'm so grateful that the state park was able to let us come here and gather in her memory. When my mom was towards the last part of her life after she moved out of the apartment, the Barnett apartment
Yeah.
on Veteran and Santa Monica that had, prior to my mother's, been my brother's apartment, and prior to my brother's apartment, it was my apartment. So we had that apartment for 30 years. After all that, Mom had to come to a facility. During COVID, I couldn't talk to her. I would have to stand on the sidewalk, and if I was lucky, she'd be out in the lawn in the garden. And at a certain point, I got to have, you know, a nice relationship with the nurse. And I'd say, "Hey, hi, I'm on a walk with my dog, and gee, we might be on 10th Street." And he said, "Oh, it's funny you should say that. I was just wheeling Bee out to the front lawn right now. Maybe you want to stop by." And I would stand on the sidewalk about from here to that camera back there, and you know, Mom would look at me and smile, and I would look at her and smile, and there wasn't a lot of conversation, so I would sing, because that's the only thing I could do. So one of the songs I used to sing with Mom is On the Wings of a Dove, and my good friend Mark Van Sloten and my other good friend Mark Feinberg, if he's around, are going to join me on that song up here right now. Guys? Thank you all for coming. I hope you like the picture on the program. Now, somebody took that picture. There she is. There he is. And you sent me that picture, and I was like, this is a great picture. It's like Mom waving hi and goodbye and everything all at the same time with a great love affair thing. So, can I offer you a hand, sir?
Like ciao.
Can I offer you some fingers? Okay. That was cool.
You guys probably have lots of pictures
Mom would
of
laugh.
that date. All your
Are
family
you ready,
members.
sir? Here we go. On the wings of a snow-white dove, she sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above. On the wings of a dove, when troubles surround us, when evils come, the body grows weak and the spirit grows numb. When these things beset us, He doesn't forget us. He sends out His love on the wings of a dove. On the wings of a snow-white dove, He sends His pure, sweet love, a sign from above. On the wings of a dove. When Noah had drifted in the flood many days,
He searched for land in various ways. Troubles he had some, but wasn't forgotten. He sends out his love on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a snow-white dove. He sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove. On the wings of a snow-white dove, he sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a snow-white dove, he sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove. A sign from above, on the wings of a dove. Thank you, fellas. Thank you. Thank you. I should have said to sing along. The lyrics are pretty simple. One of the things that his mom did was she touched lives all over the country, all over the city, all over the world, all over her apartment complex. You know, you saw that rug, Alex, by the way? And so people sent messages. And so my wife and I, Pamela and Barnett, who is responsible for everything you are experiencing here today, the chairs, the stage, the PA, she did this all. Pam, would you come up and we'll read some of these? So, this is a friend of my mom, Darlene Morales, and she wrote this. I wanted to share a few words of the impact Bee had and still has on my life. Few people have had a lasting influence on my life. One has been so proudly impactful that has influenced my direction in life, and that would be Bee Baldridge. Bee was one of those people. She had a way of making me feel loved that went far beyond words. Grace seemed to exude with her every breath, and her radiant laughter affirmed it. In my life's worst and lowest times, and there were many, she saw the best in me. She believed in me and loved me unconditionally. I could share anything with her. She never judged me. Her tight embraces, warm green teas, and lemon cookies from Trader Joe's taught me that it was to joyfully serve. Every spring bloom and fragrance that comes from my garden connects me to those days we planted the white lilies. The early morning singing of birds and every Tom sunset are special reminders of her love and how much I miss her. Gosh, how much I miss her. As a teacher, she was my mentor, and as a follower of Jesus, she led by example. We shared in grieving the loss of our loved ones, and I have one hope, and I know one truth. One day I will be reunited with her. But until then, I'm forever grateful she was in my life on this side of heaven. Bee, you are always in my heart. Love, Darlene.
From Helen Cruz. Can you guys hear me? Yep. Okay. I was blessed to call Bee Baldridge my friend and neighbor. She shared many things with me that I treasure. She was a bright light for all who came into her presence. I clearly do miss her, but she lived an abundant, Christ-filled life. Sure. Allison Richardson.
This is Allison Richards is my sister-in-law. My brother-in-law Gary, my sister's husband, passed on not not very long ago.
Oh, no kidding.
It's from Allison in Arizona.
I'm so sorry I won't be able to be with you all to celebrate your beautiful mother. I admired Bee so much for her independence, zest for life, and great love of nature. When Gary and I got together, she immediately enfolded me into the family. As you all did, and I will be forever grateful for that. When Bee came out to visit, we would often talk of life and love and family. Even though she had endured terrible loss, she still embraced happiness. Beautiful lesson for us all. She always showed great joy in being around family and friends, and I will always remember her with a smile and will be grateful I had her in my life. Okay.
This is from my mom's good friend Elaine Harrison. Elaine owned a flower shop in Sedona and became very close friends with my mom forever. And she wrote Elaine's running gag with my mother was, well, let's just pray on that. Because pretty much anything in life, be it, a car crash or a stub toe or a nuclear holocaust or you're out of milk, we'll just pray on that. And that was, it worked pretty well for my mom for 96 years. So anyway, Elaine said this: I'm sending a piece I love by a poet named Billy Collins. The dead are always looking down on us, they say, while we're putting on our shoes or making a sandwich. They're looking down to the glass-bottom boats of heaven as they row themselves slowly through eternity. They watch the tops of our heads moving below on earth, and when we lie down in a field or on a couch, drugged by the hum of a long afternoon, we think they're looking back at them. They think that we're looking back at them, which makes them lift their oars and fall silent and wait, like parents waiting for us to close our eyes. I hope you're finding peace in knowing how much Bee loved you and your family and how much she loved all of us and how highly she thinks of you. There is no one quite like a mother, and no one will ever love us more than Bee.
This is from my cousins who met Bee, and it was just, she's a special woman. She embraces everyone that she touches has a memory of her. And they couldn't be here, but they wrote this. We had the pleasure of meeting Bee in 2015 after moving to LA. She immediately welcomed us, and as newbies to the West Coast, we appreciated her warm and lovely spirit. But not only was Bee kind, she certainly had spunk. And all it took was one conversation to realize that Bee had things to say and was the type of woman that was going to be heard. A quality we immediately appreciated about her. Her depth and reverence for God was also something, as fellow Christians, that we deeply valued about her. Whether you are a person of faith or not, it takes a lot of courage for someone to speak up about their beliefs, and it was clear that she was convicted to her spirit, a quality that is rare and hard to find these days. Having spent time with Steve and watched how she and he interacted with Pam, Ryan, and Jacques, it was clear that Bee's love had left a legacy in the Lynn Barnett household. We are honored that they opened their homes to us so that we might be included in their village, in Bee's village. As Maya Angelou once said, I've learned that people will forget what you said. I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. Thank you, Bee, for embracing us.
One of the things that Elaine sent was a list of hymns that my mom loved. And one of those hymns was How Great Thou Art. I couldn't possibly sing it, but we were able to find a piece that Ryan helped put together for us.
And we hope you enjoy listening to this.
Consider all the worlds thy hands have made. I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder that path throughout the universe display. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with shouts of acclamation and take me home, a joy shall fill my heart. Then I shall bow in humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou
That's a wonderful hymn. Mom, when she came down here from Idaho, had all these pictures that would never stay up. And it was a constant pesting thing. I get these phone calls, the pictures won't stay up, you gotta come by. And I'll be there, Mom, I'm busy, I got a job, I'll come by. She was looking for a church, and she found Faith and Fellowship at Faith Tabernacle. And a lot of the members of that congregation are here today, and thank you so much for coming. The pastor for most of her time there was Lauren Hicks. And Pastor Hicks has moved on to calling in Arizona, but he was gracious enough to send this message from his home there. We first met Bea when we started attending church at Faith Tabernacle in 2003. At that time, I was a campus pastor at UCLA, and on Sundays, we brought our family and several students to services at Faith Tabernacle. Little did I know that late in 2005, I would become the pastor of the church and serve there for 14 years. In our early days at the church, we began to develop a friendship with Bea. She took a special interest in our daughters and asked if we could begin to bring them to her home once a week for tutoring. Bea's influence in the lives of our daughters will live on forever. They remember her kindness, her sweet manner, her love for Jesus, and the way she helped them grow as students. As the pastor of Faith Tabernacle, my friendship with Bee deepened. I learned she was a woman of devout faith in God and was faithful in prayer. Often she would share with the congregation messages she believed God was giving her. We were all edified by her words. For 3 years, she served as our church deacon board and gave insightful advice and support to me and to the other board members. Bee had a heart for those who were hurting, especially in their marriages. Over the years, I witnessed her care for many women who were going through hard times. She loved them, made herself available to them, opened her home to them, and prayed with them. She was a confidant, a friend, and a prayer partner. Bee also had a gift for generosity. Many times she gave me one of my family books, CDs, articles that she felt we would enjoy. I witnessed her generosity with others as well. Bee will be remembered as an encourager and someone who lifted others up. We miss her today, but rejoice in the promise of eternal life through Jesus Christ, our Lord. I am confident Bee would want everyone here today to place their faith in Jesus as Savior and Lord so they could also experience the joy of knowing God. Sincerely, Pastor Lauren Hicks. I was very gracious with him. There's some folks that aren't here today. My brother Tom died in 2014, and my sister Adele, who died in 1994. And Mom adored them and loved them and held them close at her heart long after they were no longer here. One of the things about my family that I really enjoyed was that we would sing together. And Tom would put up with me being slightly flat, try to make sure I stayed on beat. And Adele, when Adele was playing in little clubs around town, we would sit on the staircase of this office where she worked, and we'd work out, a Buddy Holly song, whatever it was that she was trying to perform. One of the things that my mom did when Adele died, she found this cassette. Adele had this really terrible cassette deck that you would have in the conference room to record your tax meetings. And she would always bring it with her to Tom's, and she would push record and they'd work out the song. And there was this song that Adele was trying to get Tom just to sing through it just once. And Tom was just being the pill that day, and then would jump into some high strumming guitar, Pete Townsend riff in the middle of this beautiful ballad. And they would work out harmonies, and then Tom would purposely go off on some tangent. And so Mom had listened to this cassette. She knew about this cassette, and she said, maybe you could do something with this. And I was blessed with a guy in the motion picture industry as a music editor, and I took the cassette to him. And he found a way to put it all together as one song. And it's the only thing I have of Tom and Adele singing together. And it's The Water is Wide. And I'd love to share it with you here today. on the program, this is where it says Steve's thoughts on Bob. Having heard Pastor Hicks' thoughts on B. And it's been a rough few weeks getting ready for this, and just trying to deal with life while I'm trying to get ready for this. So I'm kind of winging this. There's a lot of people that know that my dad had a big influence on me in terms of, you know, how to conduct myself in business, how to, like, you know, get an education, go to UCLA. Wonderful fatherly advice. And he used to come into my room at night, like 2 in the morning, and I'd be watching Mice and Men with Adele, and I'd be, what are you guys doing? I said, Dad, I can do this for a living someday. And he'd just go, and he'd walk out, go to bed. And the thing that I was thinking about a lot about lately, and I don't know if many of you know this stuff, there's the Ealing comedies in England. Alec Guinness made movies like The Lavender Hill Mob and Kind Hearts and Coronets, and these hysterical, funny British comedies that I knew nothing about until my mom said, come on, we're gonna go to the Limley Theater, these really neat movies. And that was my introduction to Alec Guinness as a big screen star, was my mom taking me to the Encino Lemley. And then she took me to a theater in the very north end of Topanga. It wasn't the Art, something else up there, where they were running the 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston. And Cecil B. DeMille, the director, came out in this kind of great roadshow presentation, walked out on film, the theater's open, the screen, you know, the curtains open on film. He gave a speech about God and 10 Commandments, and my mom, of course, loved that. And we watched Charlton Heston, you know, part the Red Sea and lead us all to the Promised Land. And then she took me to see Gone with the Wind at some other place. And I realized later, way too late in life, what an incredible influence she had on me and the profession that I would later choose, not because, you know, it's a good racket, but because movies are great. And my mom, she wanted to take me to these shows and participate with me in that. Her constant encouragement, her unbridled, just unconditional love, whatever I was going through, whatever stupid thing I had done, whatever difficulty I was facing, whatever joy, whatever triumph, whatever was happening, she was just always there with that sunny smile you see in either of these pictures, just knowing that we were all happy together. One of the great joys of my life was taking her with us on vacations. We began taking her to Mexico with the Van Slotens to this, you know, this surf place with no running water and marginal electricity and no heat. But she was just such an adventurer, and she would come and she came 3 times with us on those trips down there. She would come with us to Idaho, where Mark also had a cabin that we would rent, and she was just a part of this greater family. And you'll see some of those pictures in the video down here when you watch that. And having her over to dinner on Sundays, and it was just, wow, Mom's here. Mom is here. And she loved being there. She loved being there for us when we were kids. She loved being there for her grandchildren, helping Ryan and Jacques navigate learning to read early in their lives. She just adored doing it. The Easter egg hunts. The participation in our lives to our greater benefit. The sheer goodness of her heart and soul is something that I hope I will try to remember and cherish and get better at emulating. She was just a remarkable mom, and I'm really, really grateful that I had an opportunity, not just to have her for my mom, but just to hang out. And when I would go see her in the rest homes in Santa Monica, Pam found this great one down on 10th, and I would just stand on the sidewalk and sing to her, and she would just stare at me. I have no idea if she understood what was going on, but she had that great same smile. She had that same smile on her face while I sang the wings of a dove, or Sloop John B, or I would sing Sam Stone, Bob. She had no idea what I was talking about, but I sang Sam Stone, or Illegal Smile, and she just connected across 20 feet of lawn and a hedge and a fence to a sidewalk, right until the last days of her life. And she was a blessing in our lives, a blessing in my life. Watching her strength at my brother's service, at my sister's service, at the 90th birthday party a few months after my brother died, her expounding on her faith and how it got her through and what she believed was, I can't possibly imagine the fortitude and the conviction that she had to do that. On the back of your program is a letter that she wrote to herself. I sent this out when she passed, and I was realizing I should have it here. She was 16 years old, talking about what she wanted people to think of her when her life was through. And I think she did it. I genuinely think she lived the life that she said she wanted to live when she was just 16, and wrote it in perfect handwriting in that Bible. I can't find the actual page right now, but it was in that Bible. Feel free to look at it later. One of the things that my brother Tom would do for my mom, he would make these CDs for her, because mom wasn't really into computers and stuff, so he would just burn a CD, and it would be, you know, the Andrews Sisters, or, you know, Christopher Parkening playing a guitar piece, interspersed with his own stuff. So these are two classical guitar songs that my brother recorded for my mom. And then when we were trying to figure out what to play here, Pam heard this third piece and said, oh my God, you got to put that on. So I hope you'll enjoy these. And Ryan just played through all three of them. Good. And while you do, think about what you might like to say about my mom. Because after this, we'll ask you to talk. I hadn't heard that. This is where I'd like to invite you guys to talk. This is a handheld microphone, so I can bring that to you in the audience. Or if you want to come up here and talk and be on camera for the Potter families in Ohio and North Carolina that are looking to see what you look like, you're welcome up. The steps are there. So anybody in particular want to start this ball rolling? Bob Ramirez, I count on you.
Start the ball rolling.
Yes.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Bob. Come on up. This is my good friend Bob. I've known since I was 13 in the Boy Scouts together.
So, almost 50 years ago. What?
Yeah,
What happened to us?
I got younger.
Did you keep an eye? I told him to keep an eye on him.
I told you to wait in the car.
So I met Steve, I think almost 50 years ago. Can you believe that? And that's when I met B, his mom. And what I remember, she actually became one of my other mothers. Because I had a difficult mother. Nobody understands that because I'm sure everybody's mother's wonderful all the time. But my mother, she could be contentious and irascible sometimes and, doing her best. But I found that it was handy to have alternate mothers. And B was one of my favorite and bestest alternate mothers. So I would hang out there a lot. And Steve and I would get into trouble and we'd squabble sometimes and we'd get in little arguments about the size of the speakers and fixing his equipment and catching lizards and his 8-track deck. And we would, Steve and I would sometimes butt heads, and I go to his mom and I go, oh my God, huh? And she would say to me, Bob, don't ever forget your golden friends. You'll have friends in your life and they'll come and go, but don't ever forget about your golden friends. And I thought, she has a point there. She's a wise woman. So through thick and thin, through trials and tribulations, through having kids and going through life and all these wonderful things, I'm going to report back to B. B, thank you. We have golden friends and we're going to hang on to them until the bitter end. Thank you, B. Thank you, Steve and Pam and Ryan and Sean, because you guys are a great family. And she would be so proud to see how you've made your family. So thank you, B. Thank you, Steve. And thank you, everybody, for being here. And hey to the Potters out in Missouri. Love you guys.
Please, come on up.
you. I should go sooner than later, in case someone makes me cry more. So, thank you, Steve and Pam, for a lovely ceremony. This is so beautiful. I'm lucky to be a witness to Bee's life. I only knew her for the last recent years of her life. The few stories that I have with her are small, but made a big impact on my life. And she was just, as everyone said, such a great teacher and a bright presence. I'll just share a few anecdotes from our apartment complex where we lived together. Every morning she would walk birdseed to the bird feeder. She had her daily practices that gave her joy, and it just was contagious. And I was grateful to witness someone so happy as she was in her age. And I loved it when she had someone you mentioned. She would tutor, I think, Lily. Lily would run around the garden, and Bee would be like, Lily, we still have some more, lessons to do. She was really great at getting people to do things for her. And I think that is a huge compliment. I really admired her gumption, and she was unafraid to say what she wanted and what she needed. And I often found myself doing her hair, which was very fun, trying to replicate a certain time period that matched the cut of her hair. And she'd tell me about her life and her loves, and warned me about life lessons that I will really cherish. So thank you, Bee. And the last thing I'll say is we had a great memory coming here, and she was in a wheelchair, and we wheeled her up through the house and did the house tour, and she was so happy that day she just started singing. And I see it runs in the family, but that would be such a bold, brave thing to do in my family. So my name's Alex, and I'm a neighbor. Thank you.
Steve, thank you, Pam. It's a wonderful day. I didn't realize the music before the service really touched my heart. In past 1 year, even more than 1 year, I tried to numb my heart because I was so afraid of losing her. And so, but the memories are wonderful. I said to myself, I should cherish more. But she is such an intentional woman, and when she hold you under her wing, so it's very comforting and very encouraging. And she did things for you in a very gentle, subtle way. And I have the privilege, when she called me when I was at work, Sarah, and do you have any plan for tonight? I said no. He said, come over, have supper. She always said, have supper. So I went to her home, and everything kind of beautifully laid on the table. I saw the flowers, and she cut the flower the pink color, so put on the table. So she did everything, so just sit down and relax. So we chat. That's the many nights, many evenings when I came back from work, and that's very wonderful. I didn't want to leave, and sometimes at 9 p.m. So, have to go. And then we had moment. We went out to have meals, and she has a gift. She saw people, and she said, Sarah, could you please lead me to that person? I have words for him, or I have words for her. So very amazingly, every time when she spoke to the person, sometimes the tears just came down, or they have a big smile. Said, yeah, that's what I need. And at the church, she always kind of some words received from God. I really admire, wow, she has a very intimate relationship with God. She would say, I have a words. And then she went to pastor. So can I share the words with the congregation? And pastor said, oh, of course. She might be the only person in my memory. She has a privilege, from pastor, and gave her the platform. Say, share, go ahead. So she has pastor has a great trust in her. So she just shared the words. Wow, her language just flowing to people's heart. So everyone said, wow, that is a word from God. And she cares about her family. So I remember she said, Sarah, pray for my grandchildren. I have 4. And she has a heart. She wants them to come to Jesus. That's her heart, I know. And she is so caring. She wrote letters and rewrote it sometimes. And say, how about these words? I say, you are so humble. English is not my native language. But she asked for her opinion. But she wants to encourage them. She wants to leave some legacy to them. So that's her heart. And also Steve, and she prayed for you a lot, especially the company, changing things. She had many times she called me, Sarah, I need to pray for Steve. We need to pray for him. That's a very critical moment. We need to pray for him. I said, yeah. So we pray and pray. Every night she called me and she said, we need to pray for him. Pray for Pam. Also talk about your mom. So that's all your family. I kind of felt I'm part of your family. And she can make things happen. Just I echo to what Alex shared about it. She has inner strength, very strong strength, and she can make things happen. That's why I share with Jackie. I say, she's the woman. She not only pray and then become idle. Okay, God, you do your work. But she makes things happen. So I really admired her. So she said, Sarah, I see you as my daughter. So I said, B, that's such an honor, such a privilege. And my mom is in China. So one time I actually hooked them up, and she said, I want to let your mom know because my privilege to have you in my life. So the 2 moms got connected, even though they don't know each other's language. She just constantly, just as you shared, constantly encourage others. The real care is not like a lip service. Oh, I pray for you. She takes very seriously. She has a list. She has the things on her mind. Even when she was in a nursing home, she still remember. And the last moment, I think that was the most beautiful moment I had with her. And Steve, you happened to be there. And I felt the urge, I want to visit her. I talked to Mom Helen. I said, Mom, I need to go to see Mom B today. You want to come with me? And she said, okay, I will look at my schedule. Then she said, okay, yeah, that's the day we needed to go. So went to see her. I'm so happy I made it that trip. That's Mother's Day. And she just pat her heart. And Helen figured out, I said, Mom, what do you want to say? Actually, she tried very hard. She wanted to say, I love you. She tried very hard to say, I love you. I said, Mom, I love you too. I love you. I love you. I love you. I want to make sure I love you. She's so elegant. Even in the last day, she still kept her dignity. That's my impression, her impression in my mind, dignity. It's so elegant. So I'm so blessed to have her in my life. Thank you, Steve.
So I'm Michael Potter. Bee was my aunt and my dad's sister. And we grew up traveling back and forth LA to the Bay Area to visit Steve and Tom and Dad. And lots of good memories. And it's been interesting that as we've gotten older, I've gotten closer with the Barnett side. And doing the march parties with Gary and Adele up in Holland, Malibu. I got a car that had Bluetooth. I never used to call people that much. And I find myself free in the car, so I'm calling people while I'm driving my car because I got nothing better to do. So Bea and I started visiting, and I call her like once a week, and we just chat about all kinds of things. And of course, well, let's pray about that. Every time she would always want to close our conversations in prayer. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and my sister's been bugging me for 25 years to get my RN. So I thought the recession had that, well, this might be a good time to explore it. So I was calling Bea during all my prereqs, anatomy, physio, micro, say, Bea, I got a big test coming up. Pray for me. She says, oh yeah, I'll tell the church. We'll get you on the prayer tree. So it was really wonderful. I felt very supported by her church in the prayer. And I think January 2019, Ezra, my son, who's 25 now, came down just to hang out and visit with Bea. We're coming down, we're just going to hang out with you. And Ezra's like, this was really great, Dad. I got the grandma experience. Because his grandmother, biological, is in Belgium, and both my parents had passed by the time he was old enough to really remember things. But just had such a wonderful time hanging out with Bea, just going. She'd been sort of purging for the last 10 years. Passing things on to family and friends that she no longer needed. But the thing that I really enjoyed about Bea was she was like my second mom. My mom was a little like yours, a little challenging and contentious at times and difficult, but Bea was always very encouraging, very supportive, very loving, like, Leave It to Beaver's mom. Just really present and really there and loving, and I could call her and feel so supported by her. I miss her. I miss calling her in the car, and now I'm in nursing school. I just finished my, as they call it, my J2, my junior semester, and I'll do semester senior 1 and 2 next year, and then I'll finish in May. And I miss being able to call, hey Bea, what's, just chitting chatting, and she's like, Michael, you can be such a great nurse, and so positive and so encouraging. And Bea has a friend named Sarah who we connected. I forget how we connected, but I started reaching out to Sarah and saying, Sarah, I need to get connected with the prayer tree. So I've been calling Sarah and saying, hey, I've got a big test coming up, and that's been a real blessing. So I feel still connected with the church, and I went to her church so she could introduce me to all her members who were supporting me, and I felt very supported, and it was a really wonderful experience so that they got to see who Bea was talking about. But I just really miss those car conversations we had. We would go really deep and talk about life and talk about experiences. And my dad passed in 2006, and I got on the phone to let her know, and I just started bawling, and she said, I'll be right there. She just hopped on a plane and flew up and was with us for about a week, really helping me deal with that. And she was a very gentle, sweet, kind, loving soul. Not a bone of judgment, just support and love, and a really walking Christ talk, which I've really come to appreciate and emulate with her. So, thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Jackie Helsel. I hail from Columbus, Ohio currently, and B was my cousin. Her mother and my grandmother were sisters in Chillicothe, Ohio, and I currently live just about 30 minutes north of that area. I had such a blessing that she came back to Ohio for several different visits, and she had a visit with us in 2008 and 2010 that she came. Did I get that right? Okay. I have my wonderful help back here, my daughter, because I constantly, as you all know, we age and we're like, sometimes we get the dates messed up a little bit. But it was such a joy to be able to have time with her in person. My father always talked about her so much and her mother, and when they came out, and I always heard about her. Her reputation preceded her presence. And her presence, once you were in it, was just so much greater because of her sense of the importance of being in the present and present with you as a person. We talk about the whole idea of tables. Tables represent a time for nurture, a time for fellowship, and a time to gather around together and connect. And the time around tables with B was always such of significance because she invested what was in her heart, in her joy, and the insight that she got from one that she had intimate relationship with through Jesus into the lives of others. And that was so evident when I sat down with her at all times. So therefore you dispense and hear so many of the words that's been shared today in the lives of many, and how her presence and the love of God that was in her that was able to invest in so many other lives. And the great thing is, it doesn't have to stop there. What she's done is that legacy, that same love can be going through us as we yield to her, the maker that she had, Jesus, and being able to understand and experience. That was a big thing, the word experience, his power and love. And I was again reminded of that this weekend. And when I came out to visit B in 2018 and 2019, we had that big span. She kept saying, come out to Los Angeles and visit me. And I had some similar experiences in doing caregiving for my own parents and my mom. And it's been pretty much a 23-year journey and trying to do life and invest and still being there to take care of your parents. So I can relate to some of that. When I came out to visit her, it was at a table experience, as you've been sharing. She says, come. She says, I need you to meet, after I went with her to church, to sit with Sarah and connect with Sarah. And because of that, we've been able to have a relationship still that goes on today and share that love and be reminded of B so much. And so true, I confirm and affirm that she loved to pray for you guys, and she would say the same thing to me, to be praying for Steve and Pam and Chuck and Ryan and all her family. So again, it's just my heart feels close with you guys because of that connection that we've all had. And getting to meet your neighbors, the neighbors, when I came out, that was such a joy. But she left that wonderful impact, and I'm so grateful to be able to come back today to be here with you all, because I didn't know how on earth it would happen, but I knew that God would, he worked it all out. And I just so thank you, and thank you for doing this. It's such a beautiful service. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brett Martin, and I'm from Arizona. I had the privilege of meeting B in 2006 through her childhood friend, Emily Grow, and it was a divine connection. I remember as a college student
finding the Lord and praying, Lord, bring divine friendships and connections into my life. And that friendship with, I'll call her Aunt B because she became family to me, was just cherished. And I know it was definitely from the Lord. I have many special memories, like many of you. B was a friend, but I knew she cared for me, and she would pray for me, and we would talk on the phone once a week or every couple of weeks, and we'd pray together and pray for her family. She loved, cherished her family so much. And but I'm a campus pastor. I work with students and a missionary, and so for the last 15 or so years, I've worked with students at the University of Arizona in Tucson. And I remember, I think it was in 2009, I don't know if you remember, Steve, but B went on a trip. And she said, Brett, I want to come visit you. And I said, okay. And so I lived in this home at the time with 3 other guys. And she's like, I'd like to live or stay with you. And I said, well, you can have my room. And so she came and she stayed with us, probably for three or so days. I think she was in Flagstaff or Phoenix, and then she took a shuttle by herself, I think at that point, 84, 85, down to Tucson, and told me when she would arrive, and I went and got her, and she just connected with my roommates and just invested in them, and they just bonded to her and bonded to her heart. But she said, Brett, I'd like to speak to the students. And so I was part of a campus ministry called Chi Alpha. And so I brought Aunt B down to the University of Arizona, and she wanted to speak to those students. And those students were so attuned and so connected to what she was saying. And she's saying, in life's journey, the challenges that come your way, the difficulties, keep your eyes on Jesus. He's your compass. He's your North Star. He's your focus. And that was something that she left with those students. And there was many times when I would call B and she would say, Brett, when are you going to come to visit? And so in 2010, I was out to LA, and she's, oh, you must stay with me. And I'm like, okay. So she went and got an air mattress, and she wrote a sign. I still have it. She had it on her front door, welcome Brett, with the flowers and stuff like that. And yeah, and when I would leave, she would say, and I think I stayed with her 3 or 4 times over the years, and she always would insist that I'd stay there. And she would always send me off with some lemons from the courtyard there, and we'd see the hydrangeas, and we'd go out and she'd talk about the birds, and she would present just these wonderful meals, and she'd always set the table, and she would sit and tell me stories about her life. But something really special, and it may seem insignificant, but so as a missionary, I live by faith, meaning, yeah, I don't get paid a salary. I just trust the Lord for His provision. And for some, I just remember, she began sending me little books and things, in the midst of busy life, I had this list of things that I needed to go to the store and buy, and one of them was Band-Aids. And for whatever reason, I just wasn't able to get to the store, and I just needed Band-Aids. And one day comes a package randomly with Band-Aids. I hadn't talked to her about the need of Band-Aids or whatever, and it was just a very practical expression to me that God saw me. God saw my heart, God saw my needs, and said, you know, a lot of times in life, sometimes we can ask questions. Lord, where are you? I feel alone right now, or I feel dismissed, or whatever emotion we feel. And that practical, she's like, Brett, I don't know why I'm sending you bandage, but I feel like I'm supposed to send you some Band-Aids. And it was just a practical expression. And she loved her grandsons, Jack and Ryan and Nolan and Philip, and we would pray a lot. And please know, the Holy Spirit brings your family to my heart, and I pray for you. She loves you. She was so proud of you, boys, so proud. And someday, if you ever get to Arizona, I live near a place where she loves, Sedona. And I have in our yard the irises that you dug up. And they're growing, and they're beautiful. And so I remember those irises when they bloom this summer. And I would take a picture and I would send Aunt Bee those pictures of the irises. And they were actually from Emily's garden as well. And so just the legacy of Aunt Emily and Aunt Bee carry on in my wife and my yard every spring with those irises. And so I want to say thank you for spending that time with your grandma digging those irises, because she valued that. So thank you so much.
Good afternoon, my name is Cricket, and I was a friend of Bee. As being an educator, Bee became my mentor, and she taught me the card method and a lot of other things. I'm not a cook, but she taught me how to make the best rice, and I brag on the rice because that's pretty much all I can make. She also taught me the perfect way to boil eggs. She was a funny woman, and we always laughed and prayed together. The last time that we were together was here. We came to the house, and on the way I was driving the Camry. And I noticed that smoke was coming from the hood. The car was on fire. So not knowing exactly what to do, I called Ryan, and Ryan came on a scooter, and he didn't know what to do, but he was there. And so finally I called the fire department, and the firemen came to put out the fire. And when they got off the truck and they gathered around, Bee said, "Oh my, they're very handsome. Do you think we could take some pictures with them?" So of course we took pictures, knowing that Bee always got what she wanted and asked for, and she was just a loving person. And I miss our conversations because she's guided me so much in my practice as an educator, and I can only hope to be the kind of educator that she was. So thank you, Barnett family, for having me here, and know that I loved her with all my heart. So thank you.
Hello. Hi, my name's Joanne. I know Bee from Faith Tabernacle Church. And like many of you, the minute you were around her, there was just a spark. I think we met in Sarah's Saturday morning Bible studies, if I'm not mistaken. And the first thing that I noticed about Bee was her radiance. And she seemed to defy age. She was a timeless person. I was raising, when I first met Bee, probably in 2004-5, was raising a son who is now an adult. And she, having raised two sons, gave me a lot of help and advice when I would have trouble with my wayward teenager or 20-year-old or what have you. But she had what amazed me about Bee, of course, her spirituality. I lost my mom in 2003, and my father had died decades earlier. So when I first met Bee exemplified to me the mother I wish that I might have had. Loving, caring. My mother loved me. We had a good relationship, but my mother wasn't very spiritual. So Bee was a marvelous spiritual guide and leader and charmer, and of course always the invitation over to her beautiful cottage with the birds and either lunch or sandwiches. But what amazed me also about her was her amazing vitality. I mean, she had amazing energy. I remember I didn't know her that well, and it was in the mid-2000s. She was telling me that she was driving down to downtown LA 2 or 3 times a week to tutor teenagers, and I'm thinking, you're driving to downtown? Where in downtown? And I'm not sure I go to downtown. I mean, she was amazing, and her energy. And then I was, telling her how I was so proud one day that I had managed to run 3 miles on the treadmill at the gym. And she goes, oh, honey, guess what? I used to run marathons. I started running marathons in my 60s, and I was like 50-something. I went, excuse me? You did what? Started in your 60s running marathons? I'm like, huh? And for a minute I thought, no, she can't be right. And she pulled out a picture, one of the beautiful pictures here of her winning a race, and I'm like, this woman is just extraordinary. I personally believe that she was an angel that the Lord just sent to earth to bless so many of us. I remember that she was wonderful and supportive, as she was to so many of us. And I remember once, I'm a teacher, but I've also been an actor off and on since I was a teenager, and I was in a play in Hollywood, and I was telling her about it. She goes, oh, honey, I want to come. And I said, oh, Bee, it's a long play. The play was To Kill a Mockingbird, by the way, and you have to sit for 3 hours, and it's kind of, might be hard for you. She goes, oh, no, it won't. Oh, no, it won't. Can I come? And I said, well, of course you can come. And so I drove her down, and we had to get earlier because I was in the cast. And she was just an amazing person, always positive. I remember one time when I had a problem with my son, and 3 or 4 days later, I got this wonderful letter and card encouraging me, telling her that she was praying for me and my son Daniel. And then I was talking another time when I was talking to her about, I think I need some more friends. Some of my friends have moved away. And a week later, I saw her the next week at church. Oh, Joanne, here's a book for you. It was a book about creating friendships. And then one time I was telling her about a need I had, and I can't remember what it was. And 2 weeks later, and this was now, fast forward, so she was probably 91 or 2, and I saw her 2 weeks later. She goes, so sorry, honey, it took me a while, but here is this book that I was telling you about that you needed. That I'm like, what? And I had forgotten about the entire conversation, but Bee had not. She remembered me with all busy and how many people she was loving on, and she remembered me and brought this book to me. And I just was blown away by her brain, her intellect, how she may have been 90-something and she could have been 60-something. She has influenced me forever. My surrogate mama, I told her so many times, and I know she's still up there. I'm just so blessed to have known her. And you guys are so lucky to have had her longer. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So, I'm a relatively new friend of Bee's compared to some of them. But I met Bee through the Barnett family, and I luckily was able to fall into their lives actually through Bob Ramirez. And Bee was really amazing. One of the things I really appreciated about Bee is she had this amazing talent. No matter how many people were in the room at the same time, I know everyone experienced this, when she was talking to you, it was as if you were alone together. She's not one of these people whose eyes were darting around the room. She was focused on you. And it was so great. I loved that aspect about her. Just always so happy to see me. Like you've all said, I mean, I'm not saying anything new here, really. You know, she was encouraging all the time, and so expansive and impressive. And I remember, maybe some of you did too, how she always had almonds. She would like eat an almond, and you know, it's like, okay, what's Bee doing? I want to do that, you know. And then the prayers and whatever I was up to, I was always involved in many things, and she was always extremely supportive, as you mentioned. And then at the end of every conversation, we prayed about it. And it was just incredibly special. And I used to call her Bealicious, and she loved that. And I would write her a card, Bealicious. She just would giggle and laugh. Anyway, I thank you, Steve and Pam and Barnett, for having this event today so we could remember Bee. You know, she and my mom became friends because you know how expansive she was. You know, you show her a person, she's going to be their friend, you know. They had their independent relationship, and I think the two of them went out with Pam, and I wasn't even there, and it was just really wonderful. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that she was in my life, and I've got tremendous memories of her and all of the Barnetts that have graced the earth, and all of us with their presence, and I'm remembering all of them today. Anyway, thank you.
Martin, you coming?
Get serious. This good? My name's Martin. I had the good fortune to be Bee's neighbor. That meant we saw each other every day. Every single day. This wasn't a family thing, this was really intense. For the early years, I didn't see too much of Bee. She was always out running marathons, swimming, helping people, tutoring. I scarcely knew she was there, and I was working in production, so I was scarcely there either. But as the years rolled by, I guess it's fair to say we both spent more time at home. And then it started. It started with the garden, and the boys and the bees. We have bees then. No bees anymore in the garden, but we still have the birds. We need a bed here. That was, you're going to dig it, I'm going to plant it. That's still there, right up against Alex's house on the west side. So, I'm a Buddhist. I guess I have to come out as the closet Buddhist. And we all know Bee's beliefs. And when we'd have tea together, she'd say, well, how's the Dalai Lama? And I'd say, well, I didn't speak to him on the phone this week, but, you know, that was a joke, by the way. And she was always very interested in my perception and other people's beliefs. So, just leave that there. What happened was, after Bee lost her car, she needed a driver. Guess who? So I had a big old Chevy Tahoe step up at this point. So the Ralph's list would come out, the bank list would come out, the what's got to be framed list would come out, and so off we'd go. Bee'd do the big step up, and I'd, you know, strap her in. And she had this high perch. She loved that. High perch, everything that's going on. And they would be the waving friends. The friends we never stopped and talked to. Who's that? I don't know. It's a waving friend. Right. Good, huh? So, then maybe we go to Wells Fargo. and we'd drive into the semi-subterranean parking lot. And the little parking guys would see it was Mrs. B, and they would come trotting over like they were valets at the Bel Air Hotel. They were right there, man. And they'd open the doors and help her out, and we'd go around into the bank. And when we come back, the car was right there. They didn't park it over there somewhere. It was right there with the motor running, waiting for her. And that was the kind of effect she had on people. People wanted to do stuff for her. Not because she'd done anything for them necessarily, but just being present with them. I think we know how that is. That one little grain of sugar will sweeten a whole glass. She was that grain of sugar. And then we go to Ralph's. Yeah, they all knew her in Ralph's. I was just the guy who pushed the cart, you know, they were all talking to Miss B. So we do the shopping, and then we go to the frame store. Sometimes we go and sit and watch the ocean. That was always nice. And then, sorry Miss B, I'm gonna tell them, we'd go to Captain Salt's Fish and Chips. Yeah, we'd do that. A couple of Ulsters, we'd go in there, and we'd take the best table in the place, right next to the counter, and we'd just have fries. There was no discussion about it. We knew what this was, right? Because you reach an age in life, you don't care what people think. And, you know, even if they don't think, you're just going to do it because that's what you want to do. So we'd go in there and sit down. Miss B be over here, I'd be here, the counter would be here. The counter would be, you know, within my arm's length. So we'd eat the first of those little cardboard trays of fries. And I'd look at her and she'd look at me. And I'd go back, tap on the counter, 2 more trays would appear. We might do that 3, 4, not probably 5 times. But there was always more ketchup and more whatever it was to go with it. So that was fun, huh? You don't know they're the good old days when they are the good old days, when they're actually happening. Unless you're really smart. Then we go back to Miss B's place. This, by the way, came to be known as driving Miss Busy. That puts me in the Morgan Freeman role, and Miss B in the back seat is Jessica Tandy, who I believe won an Oscar for that movie. No Oscar for me. That's good. So, then we go back to Mrs. B's place to drink tea. Now, Mrs. B's tea was in the ironing closet, right? The ironing closet in those 1930s places is like yay wide. And there was always a trolley with a coffee perk on it in front of the ironing closet. Move the trolley, open the door, and then a packet of tea would fall out because shelves were just that wide, and there was like, you know, and that was the tea we would drink. The tea that fell out, that was the tea that was asking to be drunk. And then we'd sit there, and that's when she'd say to me, "How's the Dalai Lama?" And I'd say, "He's just fine. He was in wherever it was that week." And then we'd start talking. Miss B was a Christian, as we all know. That's no secret here. I'm a Buddhist. That's out of the closet. So that was what Mrs. B would want to talk about. It would generally start with, was it number 2 husband who used to fly the hump? 3. Number 3 husband used to fly the hump, which was from Burma, India, over the hump, the Himalayas, to China. She had a husband that did that. And this was like the Burma Road, General Stilwell, you know, that part of history. I believe I'm right in saying it's the only time ever that Chinese military have been under the command of a US general, be that as it may. So we would get to talk about comparative religions. Yeah, this was high-flying stuff. I thought I'd better write it down because I'd never remember it otherwise. Yeah, serious stuff now. So we'd compare notes. This is kind of the mission statement that we agreed upon. So I just wrote it down this morning, but I think it's pretty much on the money. We would agree, and we were both contributing to this. Our aim in cultivating the altruistic intention
key word, altruistic intention, is to become kinder, less selfish people. And we'd sit there and nod our heads. Yeah, that's right. We both agree on that. This doesn't just mean developing peaceful physical and verbal behavior, but becoming sensitive to the suffering and lack of happiness of other living beings' experience. Yeah, we could both go with that. This sensitivity then gives rise to compassion and love with a sense of personal responsibility for their well-being, which leads to the intention to become more Christ-like or more Buddha-like in order to be the best able to help others. But we have to work at it and train ourselves. When this wish governs all we do, only then have we developed the altruistic intention. So that's what we would talk about. I miss those talks. I do. I mean, thoughts is one thing, but when you've got someone batting the ball back, that's really great. So, may Mrs. B live on, happy in all our hearts, forever young.
Well, that was remarkable. And reminding me again how special she was in everyone's lives and how I wish I could be more like her. I can aspire. I can aspire. I'd like to invite my friends Mark and Mark up again to close our ceremony here. For Beatrice, Robbins, Potter, Barnett, George, Baldridge. Oh yeah. We were trying to think of a song, Mark and I, that we could sing that might be a little raucous and fun to end our ceremony in. I couldn't begin to tell you if my mom ever sang this in church. Probably not, because it's there we go. Yeah, so Mom was, but I think when we would sing it, when we would like come around like, do you know that? Do you know that? Yeah, let's sing that. Mom always enjoyed this song. I wandered so aimless, a life filled with sin. I wouldn't let my dear Savior in. Then Jesus came like a stranger in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. You know the lyrics. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Just like a blind man, I wandered along. No more lives I claim for my own. And like the blind man, God gave back his sight. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord. gain and narrow the way. Now I have traded the wrong for the right. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Mine is a song about whatever that next song is in the playlist. Have to read that. Thank you all so much for coming. I know my mom would love you guys being here. I certainly am honored to have you. We've got some snacks, we got some soft drinks, we got a video of my mom down there. Please join us in the shade. Thank you again so much. Appreciate everything.
Always prepared.
Hi, Sarah. Oh, so good.
Take your chairs down there. The table.
I remember you guys did the garden party. So nice. Oh, yeah. Beautiful.